Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, with my Week 17, 2014 NFL predictions. Well, this week, I'm going to do another Monday video, since from the last Monday video, I got a tremendous amount of feedback, a lot of positive comments, and a tremendous spike in views. I went up from about 300 views to about 600 views with the Monday video. So I wanted to do it earlier for everybody out there. And again, anybody that has any more positive or negative feedback about the Monday video, please put it in the comments section or message me. I always love getting feedback back from my viewers. So, well, this week so far, I've had a bit of a down week from last week. I am 9-6 right now. And now overall for the year, I am 157, 81-1. So that equals up to about 66% even, which I'm still pretty happy with. But there was a lot of crazy stuff that's gone on this week with a lot of the games, such as the Philadelphia-Washington game. What a tremendous upset that was for Washington. But for all the Redskin fans, I am happy for you. The losing streak is over. You know, you can have this one positive jolt going into the offseason. RG3, congratulations for your 5th win in the last 2 years. That's a tremendous accomplishment, you know, for you to get that off your chest. Deshaun Jackson had a great game, having over 100 yards on about 4 catches. Morris and them looked efficient, and that whole team looked incredibly impressive, even though, again, Philadelphia did have 13 penalties for over 100 yards, but I digress. But the Redskins should be very happy. As for the Eagles, you are now officially eliminated from playoff contention. I know for all the Eagles fans that is incredibly frustrating, and it's been definitely a bit of a fall from grace, going from 9-3 just 3 weeks ago, beating the Dallas Cowboys 33-10 on Thanksgiving, to now being 9-6 and officially out of playoff contention. I think the biggest problem is now that with Nick Foles hurt, Mark Sanchez was definitely not the answer. And I do want to see how Eagle fans react, if you know, who were behind Sanchez after the Cowboys game a few weeks ago, how they feel now about him. I've always been more of a Nick Foles fan, but that's just me. And now, you know, the Eagles have faced a lot of tremendous questions about any of their quarterbacks. You have Foles, you have Sanchez, you have Barkley. I think 2 of those guys will be gone, and I believe the Philadelphia Eagles will try to trade up to get Marcus Mariota, because they want, and especially for Chip Kelly, the former Oregon head coach, he wants his guy from college. And I think for Philadelphia, that might help the quarterback position. And I think that's going to be a lot of help. And also, you need defensive backs, because Bradley Fletcher is not a great corner, and they have over the last 2 weeks exposed him. Deshaun Jackson and Des Bryant have. And I just feel incredibly bad for him just because he's getting abused. And it's really showing how bad Philadelphia's defense is that if you can stop their front, their back end's really no chance for any good receivers. So, Philadelphia, you know, enjoy this last game. Maybe you can get 10 wins, back-to-back 10-win seasons. That's a bit of a positive, but very as fall from grace from where you guys have been. Let me see. San Diego and San Francisco, speaking about another great Saturday game. What a comeback by Phillip Rivers and that team to be down 28-7 going into the half. And they pull that off. Incredibly impressive. It shows how Phillip Rivers will carry this team into how far they're going to go. Because he has a lot of grit, he's tough, and he just really doesn't care. He threw the ball over 50 times. And if a running game is as non-existent as they have, I'm not surprised. It was just zing, 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 and it was incredibly impressive. Also, it just shows how weak San Francisco's defense looks this year and how much they're missing guys like Navarro Bowman, Ahmad Brooks, Patrick Willis, any of their former corners, because they just don't have that physical toughness or that ability to drive it home with that kind of lead. Because that offense, they were the second team in NFL history to rush for over 320 yards on the ground and lose the game. And that's an incredible low point. And honestly, at this point, I think Jim Harbaugh can't wait to get out of there to go back to either the Oakland Raiders or his hometown Michigan Wolverines. But, you know, hey, San Francisco put up a great fight, and I think with who they're facing with Arizona, I think they have a good chance to end Jim Harbaugh's run on a positive note. Let me see here. Some other big games here. Congratulations to the Dallas Cowboys for absolutely dominating the Indianapolis Colts 42-7 42-7. The turning point of the game to me was Pat McAfee, who was one of my favorite punters. I've seen him on NFL AM. Very entertaining guy. They went for the fake punt, and he threw a great pass right to McDonald, and he dropped it. And that was turning because Dallas went right back from that great field position, scored, and they never looked back. This is, for Dallas, the biggest surprise of the year. Nobody going into this year, most people didn't think they would maybe get more than 8 wins after going 8-8, 8-8, 8-8 the last 3 years. They've exceeded that. They've exceeded the winning season. They've exceeded winning the division, and they've exceeded making the playoffs. So all those goals have been set, and now for Cowboy fans, this is a great time to celebrate. And kudos and Tony Romo. This year, he's proving why that contract maybe will pay off, and I think that with how he's done, I think he deserves a bit of MVP consideration. In fact, I'd put him in the top 3. Even Rodgers and Brady, with how good their teams have been. So kudos to them. As for Indy, it was just one of those things that it was just a very lopsided game. Andrew Luck, again, he's gone through a bit of a slump to me, as he's had 11 turnovers in the last 6 games. He threw that terrible interception at the end of the half that maybe could have sparked something. But as for Indy at this point, I think they're going to be locked in the 3 or 4 seed. So next week against Tennessee, it's really not that important to me if they play him or not. They should just rest their starters and just say, you know what, let's focus on the wildcard game. Let's see. So congratulations for Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and Seattle for clinching playoff berths. Pittsburgh had a very tough and gritty game against Kansas City Chiefs, which I thought was incredibly impressive. And again, it's a shame for any of those Kansas City wide receivers that they've gone now 15 games. They've gone over a year and a month now where a Kansas City wide receiver hasn't gone to touch. Unbelievable how that's happened. And they've won 8 games. But, kudos to Pittsburgh. First time in 2 years they've made the playoffs. And I think that means now that Mike Tomlin's job is safe. And there's some confidence in Pittsburgh that his team is moving back up in the right direction. Congratulations for Seattle for absolutely dominating the Arizona Cardinals 35-7. That was a 35-7 score I was thinking earlier. Ryan Lindley, 224 pass attempts without a touchdown. That's an NFL record. And I think that Arizona put up a fight for a majority of the game. But when you have a guy like Russell Wilson who threw a career-high 339 yards and had 3 touchdowns, and Marshawn Lynch having that 70-yard run, almost like the Beast Quake that happened back in the wildcard game a few years ago, you're not going to win a game against Seattle if they're playing that well on offense. And kudos to Seattle for moving into the number 1 seed. And I think that they probably will get to the Super Bowl. The only team that I think that could beat them if they get home field is Dallas. And anybody that maybe thinks differently, we'll see. But kudos to Green Bay as well. They beat Tampa. Tough game, It was a little bit more competitive than you thought, but Aaron Rodgers throwing it to Lacey on that huge run. And then you have, Rodgers getting that touchdown to Nelson. It really helped, and they got them in the playoffs, so kudos to them. So those are my thoughts on all the games from last week. And again, for tonight, when the Denver Broncos go to the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm taking the Denver Broncos. It's time for my picks for the 5th straight divisional last week. On Sunday, when the 6-8-1 Carolina Panthers go to the 6-9 Atlanta Falcons for the NFC South title, I am taking the Atlanta Falcons. When the 7-8 Cleveland Browns go to the 9-6 Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. When the 11-4 Dallas Cowboys go to the 4-11 Washington Redskins, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys. When the 10-5 Indianapolis Colts go to the 2-13 Tennessee Titans, I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts. When the 11-4 Detroit Lions go to the 11-4 Green Bay Packers, I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers. When the 3-12 Jacksonville Jaguars go to the 8-7 Houston Texans, I am taking the Houston Texans. When the 9-6 San Diego Chargers go to the 8-7 Kansas City Chiefs, I am taking the San Diego Chargers. When the 3-12 New York Jets go to the 8-7 Miami Dolphins, I am going to take the Miami Dolphins. When the 5-10 Chicago Bears go to the 6-9 Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings. When the 8-7 Buffalo Bills go to the 12-3 New England Patriots. I'm going to take the New England Patriots. Win the 9-6 Philadelphia Eagles. Go to the 6-9 New York Giants. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. Win the 9-4-1 Cincinnati Bengals, or 10-4-1, or 9-5-1. Bengals go to the 10-5 Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers. When the 6-9 New Orleans Saints go to the 2-13 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints. When the 4-11 Oakland Raiders go to the 3-12. When the 3-12 Oakland Raiders go to the 11-3 or 12-3 Denver Broncos, I'm going to take the Denver Broncos. When the 11-4 Arizona Cardinals go to the 7-8 San Francisco 49ers, I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers. And then when the 6-9 St. Louis Rams go to the 11-4 Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks. All right, time for my thoughts on each game. Carolina and Atlanta. This is a competitive game, as you would like to, as you can maybe quote unquote say, for the NFC South. Both teams are coming off very big wins over teams that they needed. Carolina, of course, 17-13 over Cleveland. I thought Cleveland actually put up a bit more of a fight than I thought, but that, of course, was when Johnny Football went down with his hamstring injury, and Brian Hoyer stepped back in there. So I don't know for Mike Pettin if he wants to go with Manziel or just go with Hoyer. The game really doesn't matter. But I thought Cam Newton played efficient. That defense caused a couple big turnovers, even though Cleveland's defense themselves caused a few big turnovers as well. Even though I thought that one where Wynn of the Browns caught the ball and they thought he gave himself up, I thought that was a unique lateral, but I digress. And then for Atlanta, of course, beating the Saints at home, which now means they've lost 5 straight home games. I would have never thought the New Orleans Saints would lose 5 straight home games in the Sean Payton. That's incredible. And that shows how much maybe this team needs to work on, because they have a lot of work to do if they want to get back to contention from where they were just a year ago. But Atlanta looked efficient. Their offense looked great. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Julio Jones, 3rd straight 100-yard game. And it was just incredibly impressive knowing that Atlanta, that they can lose again pretty much against everybody else in the conference or outside of the conference, but in the division. But in the division, they're 5-0. And that's where I look at this game, and that's where I'm going to take the Falcons to win this game. I think Carolina does have a decent shot to win, because Cleveland's gone in there and win. Chicago's gone in there and win. A lot of teams have gone into Atlanta like people have gone into New Orleans and won games in that dome. But I just think Atlanta has a lot of motivation. They know they're in this position, and they can win the division. And they just have a better offense. I think the defenses are about equal from what I've seen, even though I think Carolina's just a little bit better than Atlanta's. But I think they'll do enough to get Benjamin out of the game. And I think Matt Ryan will be able to abuse Julio and Roddy to get enough offense that Carolina won't be able to outscore them. Because I think the game will be very competitive. I think Carolina has a little bit of edge at the running game with Stewart, who's been putting up great games back to back. But I feel that Atlanta's offense and their defense will do enough against Benjamin, who's their primary weapon, that Cam will be able to win this game. Kudos to Carolina for getting into this position, because not that many teams, nobody in the NFC South has ever repeated as champions, division champions, so Carolina can be the first team to do it. But I think in this kind of shootout type game, Atlanta's offense looked more potent. They've looked more efficient with Atlanta's defense of what they've had to go through. And I think that'll be enough, along with the home field, to win this game, because I think they can beat this Carolina team. And I remember they just beat them a few weeks ago by that 60-yard field goal that they missed. And they have a great kicker, Matt Bryant, so if it comes into that, I'll take Matt Bryant over Graham Gano, who missed a 49-yard field goal yesterday. All right, Cleveland and Baltimore. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not trying to be a homer. We absolutely sucked against the Houston Texans yesterday. Case Keenum looked a lot more efficient than Joe Flacco. He was able to drive them down enough. Arian Foster was way better than Joe Flacco, even though he did only throw one pass. But that one pass was for a touchdown. So that was impressive. And that Houston defense was Joe Flacco's kryptonite. He's never done really well against Houston, but I thought he put up a better fight. And I didn't expect Case Keenum to play that efficient that they could get 6 field goals and win the game. And honestly, as a Raven fan, I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. I don't expect to. And honestly, if we play as bad as we did, we don't deserve to, because we had our own fate in our own hands. And if we don't make it, we don't. And, 10-6 in the AFC, we can't, really be upset. The only people we can look at is ourselves. But to go back to the game, sorry for a little diatribe, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens to beat the Browns just because this Baltimore defense has been incredibly impressive. Every game for this year, besides probably the Pittsburgh game, we have been in. And you can say the same thing about Cleveland. Cleveland's defense is about the same, but I'm looking at both offenses. Flacco has routinely done well against the Cleveland Browns. Actually, in fact, I think he's only lost one time ever, and this is at home, and I feel that, we have enough weapons. We're still playing for something, so we're motivated. Cleveland's going to try to play spoiler. Can this game be competitive? Yes. You have Hayden and Gilbert, even though I think Hayden, he's not 100%. And I just think that we can stop their running game, and if you put it into Hoyer or Manziel's hands, they're not really getting the ball to Gordon, and that offense has been non-existent since then. And also, I think we can get to Hoyer with our pass rush, and we can rattle him up, and we'll win this game off that. The game will be competitive. I look at Forsythe. I think he'll be able to gash that Cleveland defense better than that Houston defense, where, he's still one of the top 3 guys in running the ball. And I think that's better than what they have with Crowell and West, even though he does have an ankle injury, so we'll see how that goes throughout the week. But I think Baltimore will win this game just based off the fact that we are still playing for something, and we just have a better overall offensive feel for the most part this year than Cleveland, and we're not as in trouble with our quarterback, even though we did have probably the worst game in a long time I've seen him play. I think we can beat this Browns team just because they're in a worse situation than we are, and I think that'll be the difference in the game. And I know that probably worser is not a word. But that's why I'm taking the Ravens over the Browns. Dallas at Washington. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Washington Redskins just because they are playing for something. Because let's say Seattle loses and Arizona loses, then Dallas could be the number 1 overall seed. And I think that would be incredibly impressive. And just knowing that they're in Washington, they're 7-0 on the road. They're 4-4 at home. They're 7-0. On the road, they're going to get to that 12-4 record that a lot of people thought that, when you kind of have it, except usually it's the other way. You try to win half your games on the road, and you try to win all your games at home. But it's different for them. I think that Dallas is still motivated from what happened the last time. They're not going to be playing Colt McCoy. They're going to be playing an RG3, so he might be able to move a little bit better than Colt. And, again, they have to worry about Deshaun Jackson and Jordan Reed, who did shred them the last time. And Jim Haslett always seems to play well against the Dallas Cowboys. So if they can get a bit of a pass rush, like they did against Sanchez or Breland, can get at Romo, I think it can be competitive. But knowing what happened the last time there in Washington last year when they played Kirk Cousins, I kind of can expect that kind of game where Romo, if they had to, Romo can pull this game out. And I think it should be a fairly easy game for the Cowboys. They'll be able to run the ball very easily. LaShawn McCoy had over 130 yards the other day. Romo, he's going to have Dez. And I don't think any of those corners, even though Breland did a great job the last time, he'll get revenge on that. And this Cowboy team should win just based on the fact that that line's going to get through. That offensive line will get through that pass rush. And Breland and those corners won't be able to handle that offense the way they did last time, just because they won't be able to blitz as much, because they're going to look at the tape and they're going to defend the blitz a lot better, which will give Romo a lot better opportunities. So that's why I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Washington Redskins. Indianapolis over Tennessee. Tennessee is 2-13. Indianapolis is 10-5. Indianapolis, 3 or 4. I don't think they're going to care at this point. I think T.Y. Hilton's not going to play. And I think they have enough talent with guys like Boom Herron or, Moncrief or any of those receivers that they can beat the Tennessee Titans team with Matt Hasselbeck, because I'll take Matt Hasselbeck over Charlie Whitehurst any day. And that's it. I just really, Tennessee looked that bad. Indy's defense can do something against Tennessee because they don't nearly have the weapons that Dallas does in the running game or the passing game, even though it is at home. And I remember last year, they were down, I think, 14-0 when Fitzpatrick was there last year. But this team is completely different. They're worse off. And I'm going to trust that even if they bench their starters, that Indy's backups can beat this Tennessee starting team. That's a sad point for Tennessee, but that's just the truth of the matter. So that's why I'm taking Indianapolis to beat Tennessee. Detroit to Green Bay. This is my Sunday night football game. They really haven't moved the game to Sunday night football yet, but I do think this is the one which is going to be the big one that everybody will see. I think Green Bay will win this one This is going to be a tough game. I love, Detroit last time, 19-7 in Week 3. Aaron Rodgers only threw for about 180 yards and a touchdown, and they had 3 turnovers by the Lions, and they still couldn't capitalize. And I know this Detroit team, they have the good enough defense to do what Buffalo can do or Tampa can do because they can get pressure on the quarterback with their 4-man front. But just seeing how sloppy Stafford played against the Bears defense, which really isn't that good either, I just am going to take the Packers because the Detroit Lions have not beaten the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau since 1991. It's been over 92. It's been over 22 years since they have done it. And the Green Bay Packers just somehow at home always seem to play better. I don't know what it is, but they just, it's kind of like they're the old school New Orleans. They're the New Orleans of last year where you can pretty much trust them at home and you can't trust them on the road. And even though they are 4-4 on the road, and they're going to be like what I said earlier about Dallas, which is what you kind of want to be to get into the playoffs. You want to, they are that. They're probably going to win all their games at home, and they're going to go 4-4 on the road. So that gets them 12 wins, and that's good enough. I think, if Detroit's defense can get after Rodgers a bit and start on, this game can be competitive. But they have too many weapons on offense, and I think those corners and that secondary, even though they've done an incredible job this year against some better receivers, I don't think they're going to be able to stop Rodgers on this day because big-time players come up in big-time games, and Aaron Rodgers, of course, to me, is one of those big-time players. I think Detroit, again, that defense will hold them in this game, or they can run the ball, and because, again, Green Bay's kryptonite is their running defense, which has been shredded by Seattle and New Orleans over the year. They can, compete in this game, and they can maybe get off that schneid, but I'm not going to take that chance. I'm going to take the Packers based on Rodgers being there in this big-time moment. And over the last couple times, the last time they did this, they used their backup quarterback against this defense, which a lot of those guys are still there. And I think that Green Bay just has Detroit's number in Lambeau. Last couple times they were in Detroit. If this was in Detroit, I probably would have taken Detroit. But since it's in Green Bay, I'm going to take the division split here and take the Packers off all those reasons I said earlier. Jacksonville at Houston. Jacksonville, look, kudos for getting your 3rd win, and kudos for getting on a little bit of a roll like you did last year. But you're playing the Houston Texans defense again. You're playing Case Keenum, so you might have a bit more of an advantage. This isn't Fitzpatrick. This isn't a veteran. But I kind of can expect Case Keenum to do what he did this past week. He'll do just enough. And I have to give Bill O'Brien a tremendous amount of credit through going through 4 quarterbacks, kind of like Bruce Arians, and still getting this team to 9 wins, incredibly impressive. Because they pretty much had the same amount of talent that went 2-14. By the way, Case Keenum was the quarterback for those last 8 games when they went 2-14. So I think Jacksonville can put up a fight. That defense and that team is better than that 3-12 record that they are at. But I think Houston's defense will smother them again, and Case Keenum will do just about the same to win this game. That's what it's going to be. Case Keenum will do enough where Arian Foster can run through that Jacksonville defense like he did the last time, and he had over 100 yards back in Jacksonville a couple weeks ago. And I think that defense will hold down enough on Bortles that they'll win this game and go to 9-7. So kudos for the Texans. They are moving in the right direction. So that's what I'm taking the Texans over the Jaguars. San Diego at Kansas City. I'm going to take San Diego just because I remember last year when these 2 teams played in Kansas City, Phillip Rivers had another great type of comeback. That was the one where they went that bump and run coverage, it was like a man up 3 deep, and Jera Tutu, who's still there, came up huge with that reception. And I thought, and then of course, the other game was that missed field goal in San Diego that basically got San Diego in the playoffs. Both these teams are about the same, but I'm gonna take San Diego in this just because I trust their offense and I trust this team. Kansas City, again, still has not thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver in 15 straight games this year, going all the way back to last year to go back to Week 14 of 2013. So they haven't thrown a touchdown to receiver the whole year. And San Diego's defense, look, it's not the best because, they give up 35 points to the Niners, and they've given up a good amount of points in a quick amount of time. But they are competitive, and when you have the corners that they do against a limited receiving corps, that'll be enough. And I think, even though, again, Jamal Charles, can he shred through that running defense like maybe Gore and, Kaepernick, Gore and Smith can? Yeah, I think because Alex Smith is a bit of a mobile guy, and I think he can get them rushing yards. But I think that San Diego's offense will just generate more than Kansas City will, because San Diego's defense won't have to worry about that receiving threat as much just because of Alex Smith's style of play. And I think that'll be enough to win this game. I think, again, it will be competitive, especially if Kansas City can just run the ball right down San Diego's throat like San Francisco did. It'll be a lot closer than you think, but San Diego's offense is just a little bit more potent with the weapons they have than Kansas City does. And I think San Diego's defense can hold Kansas City's offense enough that they can win this game and get into the playoffs. So that's what I'm thinking, the Chargers over the Chiefs. Dolphins over Jets. The Jets, look, they played one of their best games all year yesterday, 17-16 against the Patriots. They always seem to play the Patriots hard, but once again, tough loss by a point. Thankfully, Vince Wilfork was able to jump high enough. I didn't expect him to have that much high of a vert to block the kick that Nick Folk tried. And just kind of like the last time, just a few weeks ago, Geno and them are still there. That team is still going to have a tough time against that Miami defense. The Miami corners are going to pretty much shut down the Jets receiving core. And also, Miami's offense, I think, will do better because they're coming off a 37-point performance and the first game in NFL history that was ended by a safety off a blocked punt. So kudos to the Dolphins. And I just think that they're going to want redemption for what happened last year in Miami when Ryan Tannehill threw those 3 interceptions and cost them in a playoff game. I know both these teams, are not playing for anything. They're just playing for a win. But I just think the Dolphins are going to want revenge on the Jets for what happened last year in this same situation. And they just have a better overall talented team. And again, they just played each other a couple weeks ago. And I haven't seen much of a difference. So that's what I'm taking, the Dolphins over the Jets. Vikings over the Bears. I'm going to take the Vikings because of what the Vikings did the other day. 35 points by Teddy Bridgewater, or 28. The other were by that bad kickoff or that muff kick. But I just think that they, in this matchup, if you're telling me Jimmy Clausen or the Vikings, that Viking defense will be a little bit better. And I'll take Bridgewater over Clausen. I think Jimmy Clausen played better than Cutler. I will give him that. But he just didn't do enough. And I think Teddy Bridgewater is shown to be a better quarterback already than Clausen. And even though, again, this game can be very competitive just because Clausen has the way better talent offensively than Bridgewater does, I think Bridgewater's defense will be able to get Clausen more than the Bears' defense getting Bridgewater. Because he gave him a fight last time, number 21-13, just a few weeks ago. The game can be competitive if Clausen can get his weapons, especially if Jeffrey can have a big game, if Forte can run through him like he did last time, but they don't have Brandon Marshall, and I think that'll be key because they won't have to worry about that. And I just don't know if Jimmy Clausen can, if they double-team Jeffrey, can get Martellus Bennett or Wilson or any of their other guys, Josh Morgan, into the game with that kind of scenario. The game's going to be close, but I'm going to take the Vikings on this one. They're at home as well, and I'll take those points as well. And yeah, so that's why I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Bears. Buffalo at New England. I'm going to take the New England Patriots on this one. Buffalo lost to the Raiders. That's all you need to know. Again, kudos for the Raiders for winning 3 of their last 6 games after starting out 0-10. Bravo. But I think New England, they're at home. They haven't lost at home. The Buffalo are thinking eons under Brady. And yeah, that's why. They're playing for something, so they're going to have their starters out there. Even though Buffalo should be happy to go 8-8, first time in 10 years, not a losing season. But New England has way too many weapons, and they're playing for something, and that's just a bad matchup for this Buffalo team, who's just coming off a loss to the Oakland Raiders. That's one of my locks. Actually, again, I was talking about the game so much. Here are my 3 locks for the week. I'm going to take New England over Buffalo as a lock. I'm going to take Dallas over Washington as a lock, and I will take the Seattle Seahawks over the St. Louis Rams as my other lock. All right, the next game, I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles over the Giants. This game is going to be a lot more competitive than I thought it would be at this point of the year because the Giants have been on a little bit of a roll. They have won 3 straight games. They have scored over 21 points in each of these games, and that offense is clicking. Odell Beckham Jr., what another phenomenal game he had. Over 130 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. He is clearly the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And in my opinion, he is starting to become the clear number 1 overall wide receiver for the New York Giants behind Victor Cruz. people might take offense to that comment because they might think that Victor Cruz has experience, but I'm looking at production. But I think the Eagles will win this game. You know, it's kind of like the roles are reversed. Now the Eagles are this maybe awkward underdog at this point. Now that they've been on this 3-game losing streak and the Giants have been on a 3-game winning streak. And maybe the Giants will get redemption for what they did to them in Week 5 this past, earlier in the year, 27-0 shutout in Philadelphia. But I think Philadelphia, if they have any sort of pride, they can get this offense going. I think Sanchez, he'll be able to do enough. I think they'll be able to run the ball a lot more effectively because the Giants' run defense has been very bad. And if I was Chip Kelly in that offense, I would attempt to run the ball as many times as I could, knowing how bad Sanchez has been. He threw the ball over 50 times, and I still don't quite understand why he would do that because he is not a volume-type passer. He's more of a 20 to 25 times a game kind of thrower, and that's kind of the way you want it to be. But I'm going to take the Eagles in this one just because I feel that they have enough pride and they'll have enough confidence on offense that they can beat this Giant team because I think they will run the ball right down that Giants defense throat. So we'll see what happens. I think the game will be very competitive at this point, but I'm going to take the Eagles to win this one. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. This is something where I think Cincinnati just will be outmatched. This Pittsburgh team is peaking at the right time. They are playing consistent ball. They have Le'Veon Bell. They have Brown. And just knowing what they did to them in Cincinnati, I think they'll do the same exact thing in Pittsburgh. Cincinnati will have the motivation factor because of what happened to them just a couple weeks ago, 42-21 in Cincinnati. But I just don't think Cincinnati's offense will have enough to go through this Pittsburgh defense, and I think Pittsburgh's offense will be more than effective enough to beat this Cincinnati team because they're going to be coming off, even though they are coming off a 30-0 shutout over the Browns, but that was Johnny Manziel's first start, so how much can you really put into that? And also, I'm just looking at Dalton. This is going to be motivation for Pittsburgh as well, just because just a couple years ago, this same situation happened where Cincinnati was able to knock them out of the playoffs in the last week of the year. And I think that Pittsburgh will remember that. And I think, I know that might be something a couple years, but they will remember that, and they will use that as motivation to beat this Bengal team. Even though both teams are going to be in the playoffs, I think that this matchup can very well be a repeat scenario. So in some ways, I think it's more crucial for Pittsburgh to win, or Cincinnati to win, than Pittsburgh, because I don't think Pittsburgh cares if they go back into Cincinnati or they have it at home. They'll get to play the Bengals again. So the game will be competitive, and Dalton has won, I think, once in Pittsburgh just a couple years ago. But I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. I love what they're doing. They're peaking at the right time. The Bengals, just of what they have and what they've done in the bigger games, I can't trust them in this one against Pittsburgh. So that's what I'm taking the Steelers over the Bengals. Saints over Bucks. Well, the Buccaneers are the only winless team at home. The Saints have won their last 3 road games. How awkward is that? That the Saints have lost their last 5 straight home games, but they've won their last 3 road games. They're kind of like the miniature pathetic Dallas Cowboys this year, where they are far better on the road this year at home. I never thought I would say that about this New Orleans Saints home team. And look, will Tampa put up a fight? Yes, they will. I think Tampa can put up enough of a fight against the Saints team. Remember earlier in the year, it took overtime for this Saints team to beat the Buck team at home. I think they're going to be motivated just to get a home win because they don't want to go 0-8 at home because that's pathetic. But I just feel that this Saints team has to beat this Buck. If they lose, if they only win 2 of their last few games, there's going to be a lot of change in New Orleans, and I think the only person that might be safe, the only 2 people that might be safe will be Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Everybody else, they're up. Okay, maybe Jimmy Graham. I'll add Jimmy Graham in there as well. I think that it will be a competitive, non-important game. I'm going to take the Saints here because they won their last 2 on the road, and everybody's been able to beat Tampa, including New Orleans, and I think they'll be able to do it. And I have enough confidence in them on the road that they'll beat this Buck team at home. So that's what I'm taking the Saints over the Bucks. Oakland and Denver. It's kind of like New England Buffalo, except Buffalo's a lot better of an opponent. I remember Oakland, back in, I think, week 12, they were up 10-6 at one point, and everybody was wondering what happened, even though that was the game that started Peyton Manning's kind of slump into where he's kind of not being the Peyton Manning that we all expect. But this is at home. They're undefeated at home, and Denver is playing for something. If they weren't playing for something, I think Oakland might have a chance to win this one just because of how they played, but they are going to put Peyton in the game. He's going to just, torture him again, or he has to. And Oakland's not just going to win this game. That's pretty much how easy it is. Kudos for Oakland. I don't think I picked them at all once this year. And they've proven me wrong 3 times. I didn't think they'd be able to prove me wrong 3 times. So kudos to the Oakland Raiders. That you can have some sort of confidence going into next year that, you still are in Oakland. And that you maybe can build off this. Because I like Derek Carr. Derek Carr has shown a lot of good poise. He's shown a lot of good promise. And if you get receivers around this guy, and you get a better offense, this Oakland team can, in maybe a couple years, come back up to a wild card contending team to compete with. So we'll see. And you might get Jim Harbaugh too. So that's what I'm taking, the Broncos over the Raiders. San Francisco over Arizona. This is one of those awkward ones where again, 224 pass attempts for Ryan Lindley without a touchdown. That San Francisco offense showed way too much. Are they going to put up that much against Arizona's defense? I don't think so. But I think they can put up enough on offense that Ryan Lindley, with how bad he's been offensively, he's not going to be able to match that. And I just also think that if this team has any love or any more respect for Jim Harbaugh, they'll let him go out of San Francisco on the right note or a win over the Cardinals. The Cardinals are in the playoffs, and no matter what happens, they're going to be the 5 seed. Because if Detroit, I guess they're going to be the 5 seed because they'll have a better conference record. Probably with my predictions. They'll be the 5 seed because Detroit, they'll have the head-to-head over Detroit, and they'll get to play Carolina or Atlanta in the Dome. So, at this point, Stan will probably be out because they don't expect maybe to beat the Niners. And they'll be in that 5 or 6 seed. And, yeah, I'll say that Lindley's not going to be able to do it. And Jim Harbaugh will be able to get a 500 season under his belt. At least, have one final last hurrah for a San Francisco run before he either goes to Oakland or any other NFL job or goes back to Michigan. So that's what I'm taking, the Niners over the Cardinals. And lastly, Seattle over St. Louis. This has been the 3rd straight year where they've had this game. The St. Louis Rams have looked pathetic over the last 2. They have not beaten the Seahawks in Seattle in the last 10 years. And also, Jeff Fisher, after giving up only no touchdowns in the last 3 games, he gave up over 4 in that team. And if you're telling me that Seattle won't be motivated going up against Sean Hill and that weak offense, you're out of your mind. And again, I'm going to take that. Going to take that defense. That Legion of Boom will shut down that offense. They're motivated because of what St. Louis did to them earlier in the year in Week 6. And I'm going to take the Seahawks at home. There's no way in this situation I'm not going to take that Seahawks team at home against this weak Ram team. So that's it. So those are all my thoughts and predictions for this week. Good luck to all the teams. Good luck to all the players. Good luck to all, fantasy owners that are maybe still playing. In my games, I'm going to end up 3rd place in one league and 5th place in another. So, that's not bad. I think I'll end up with a, 10-6. I'll go 20-12 in 2 leagues. That's pretty good. I'll take that. And, so good luck. And good luck to all fellow prognosticators. For everybody out there, happy holidays. Enjoy the time with the family. Enjoy your gifts. Enjoy just the great times that this time of the year brings. And until next week for the playoffs, this is Matt the NFL Fanatic signing off. Till then, so long.